Hello, and welcome to the Wether-report. That was the chime. Now is the time for the Wether-report. I'm your host, Perry McGann. No relation, of course. I would first off like to say thank you for joining me in my mission to become the #1 Wetherspoons related podcast. In this podcast series, I will endeavour to travel the length and the breadth of the country, reviewing the nation's favourite pub chain, JD Wetherspoons. Letting you know which pub is worth a visit, or if you should give some of them a miss, because like any chain, there are some good ones and some bad ones. And as with Wetherspoons, although they do offer great value, some can be a little bit unpleasant. At the end of my review, I'll reward the pub a silver spoon if it's worth a visit, or a wooden spoon if you should give it a miss. Now, what qualifications do I have as a pub reviewer? None at all, apart from being a value-seeking member of the public, just like yourself. So, really, frankly, I'm just a bloke, just like you. Not to say that this is a men-only podcast. Women are welcome to listen to. And not just from the saloon bar. No, just a bit of old-timey pub humour there, as women are allowed anywhere in a pub these days. But only in the back, if you work there. You can't just go wandering around in the cellar just because you're a woman. Joining me on my podcast is my co-host, Pepsi. He is a lively Jack Russell who shares the tenacity of Scrappy-Doo, but unfortunately does not share Scrappy-Doo's ability to talk. Also, dogs aren't allowed in any Wetherspoons. So, as a co-host, he is rather useless, but he does keep me company while I am doing this. So we can always be thankful for that. Speaking of co-hosts, this is originally going to be it was originally going to be called a podcast called Big Spoons, Little Spoons, hosted with my wife, Claire, with an I. She was rather pedantic with an I. But until recently, she passed the point of loving me, and now is wanting a divorce, citing that I'm not a good listener and not very creative or some other nonsense. But anyway, on with the podcast. As I'm sure we will get to know each other more as the series goes on. As part of the podcast, listeners will be encouraged to email in your thoughts on anything Wetherspoons. What's your favourite one? Your local one? How they can make any improvements? What's your favourite drink? Oh, you know what? Even any celebrity that you would take to a Wetherspoons. Just absolutely anything. Yeah, maybe email in a picture of your dog, your little co-host, if you will. Now, and any dishes that you think they should bring back to Wetherspoons. Any hacks or tricks for getting any more value. Yeah, in these days and age, you can never get enough value, can you? Now, I do have an email address, so if you did want to email in, you could email in at perrysoldspooners@hotmail.com. And another way to remember that is perrysoldspooners@hotmail.com. Yeah, and I have abbreviated that, so it's not. You don't have to be Perry's Old Spooners. You can just join the club and be a POS, Perry's Old Spooners. Now, obviously, there won't be any emails this week because it's the first episode, but hopefully by next week we'll have an email or two, and then we can start the ball rolling on that one. Now, many of us already know the history of Wetherspoons, but I just wanted to give you a little run down on the facts, so bear with me here. Wetherspoons was famously started in 1979 by Sir Tim Martin, who named the chain after a teacher of his who said he wouldn't amount to anything. But now, that isn't it amazing? That teacher now probably has egg on his face. Well, in fact, if he's still alive. But do you think at any point Mr. Wetherspoons, who the chain is now named after, has or did go into a Wetherspoons and toast to Tim Martin's success, or buy him a pint and say, well, you proved me wrong? Yeah. They're famous for their value. It's not just beer and food they provide. They have 55 hotels in their pubs, which you can enjoy a meal, a pint, and a nap. It's pretty good for staying overnight when you're going to a christening or a wedding. Although the money I spent on my wedding feels a little wasted. Getting married is really like playing a fruit machine. You pump all that money in, and there's no chance of a return. Not a fiscal return, but a return in love and partnership. Anyway, there is also their service station pub, which many have cited would encourage drink driving, which is a silly point. As they sell camping chairs at service stations. A move that has never encouraged me to go camping. They, of course, have the airport pubs, which I look forward to reviewing at a later date. Although I don't feel that these would give as good value as the town centre venues, but still every little helps, isn't it? As another famous British chain would say. Now, something I've learned in my research is that Spoons does in fact have a dress code. Its website cites customers are required to remain fully clothed throughout their visit, including wearing shoes. I've heard of barefoot in a park, but not barefoot in a Spoons. Although you never know with the British public, do you? Let's face it. Another unknown fact to me was that you can get married in a Spoons. The Knights Templar in London offers a £3,000 package, which includes table wine and a 3-course meal for up to 100 guests. Maybe an idea for my next marriage, if indeed it was ever to happen. Although finding 100 people would be a bit of a stretch for me. Well, it depends on her family as well, I suppose. Might be Catholics and have lots of cousins. So, all in all, Wetherspoons offers an all-round service. No wonder it is held in such high regard in the nation's heart. Now, this week's review, I will be reviewing the Corn Exchange in Bury St Edmunds. Now, you may wonder why I wanted to start here. It was purely because I was visibly happy and I thought it was as good a place as any to start. The plaque outside of the Corn Exchange read that this is a Grade 1 listed monument, and it was designed by Ellis and Woodard, built by Lot Jackman at a cost of £7,000. Imagine being able to get a whole Corn Exchange for £7,000 in this day and age. It stands on the site of the Shambles or market, which occupied the 3 sides of the site. The Corn Exchange opened for business in July 1862. The floor which Wetherspoons is on now was inserted in 1969, and there are now shops on the ground floor. The premises were refurbished in June of 2012 by Wetherspoons, which now sadly is starting to show its age. There was quite a striking design of light fittings which were based on designs that were found in research dating back to the original building. So Wetherspoons commissioned them. And they were quite striking. Before I would start the actual review of the pub, that was just a little bit of history, I would like to read a few reviews of the pub to give some balance and also what I should have looked for while I was there. Now, for context, it has an overall rating of 3.5 on TripAdvisor, scoring well in value, but nothing else. It did do better on Google reviews at 4.1. Although the most recent reviews are nothing but positive. Smeggy Toad citing that you can't fault the pub. Food and drinks arrived super quick. Food hot and tasty. Beer spot on. Toilet spotless. They did misspell toilets. Simple mistake to make. Smeggy Toad does lack basic proofreading skills. Should get a spell checker there. There are apps on all major browsers these days. Reading the reviews, the toilets were a bit of a bone contention. Just stay tuned to see what I thought of them. They were the main gripe of Mike S's review, which I was going to read, but it's too unintelligible, and I can't read it on air. Not because of any foul language, just poor lack of grammar. Now, my review. I finished my tour of the Abbey a little bit before midday. Decided to walk around the market and take in the sights and sounds. I found Bury to be a busy, quaint, pleasant place. It's home to a pub called Nutshell, which was once the smallest pub in Great Britain, which was challenged in 2016 and no longer is. It was quite a charming looking pub, but sadly we're not here to review the Nutshell. It did look fantastic though, but it did look also to be a Green King pub, which many seem to dislike, which is strange, seeing as Bury is home to Green King Brewery, and must be a rather large, or if not the largest employer in the area. But we're here for the Corn Exchange. It was near 12:30 when I approached the Corn Exchange. From the outside, it looked to be a rather impressive and busy pub with pub goers piling in and out. Those on their way up usually just have finished breakfast. Those piling in were going in for a spot of lunch or to line their stomachs for the day. Drinking ahead of him was Saturday after all. Upon entering, I was smacked in the face with a sweet, sickly smell, which I worked out to be vapour from a large man's vape standing next to the door. Now, this is a bone of contention, really. Although I am quite glad of the smoking ban of 2007. It has created a much more pleasant area within the pub, but outside is now littered with smokers, making it unsightly, and the litter that is brought with it is causing most pubs to look like the outside of a dole office. Smokers sliding their butts in pot plants, empty pint glasses, anywhere but the ashtrays, all the metal ashtray fixed to the wall. Although this is a small price to pay for much cleaner air within the pub. So, upon entering the pub, you are met with a medium-sized fridge containing a selection of craft cans. The fridge didn't appear to have any discernible locks on it, which, as was downstairs, away from the serving area, was only asking to be stolen. I made my way up to the pub's main dining hall, and it was extremely busy and hard to find a table. I spotted a possible empty table and quickly made my way towards it, only to be outrun by a couple. This went on for some time, and by the end of it, I felt like I'd run the bleep test at school, running towards the table and back towards another, each time just beaten by another punter. I finally got myself to a table, somewhat breathless. I decided to order via the app on this occasion, as it's not. I didn't really want to lose my table to another unscrupulous shopper. I did order the triple American cheeseburger with a pint of Brewdog's Punk IPAs. I felt this American style beer would complement the burger quite well. Also, it was one of the more expensive pints, so I thought a little bit more value there. It was quite busy. I didn't really expect my order to turn up quickly. I am usually a real ale man, but on this occasion, I thought they'd go well together. And like I said, it was a little bit more premium. I do enjoy a pint of Shipyard now and again as well. Usually a Doom Bar man. As I waited, I took in the surroundings. For those wondering, the carpet was a red and blue diamond motif. It wasn't the most exciting carpet I'd seen at Wetherspoons, but it was there. As the time passed, my drink didn't arrive too quickly, but I could see the staff were busy and people were arriving quicker and quicker all the time. It was around the 6-minute mark, and my drink and my food arrived simultaneously. I was impressed by the speed of my food, but I would have liked to enjoy a few sips of my drink before my food had arrived. I was also worried, had my burger been reassembled from another burger, as it did arrive very quickly. Yeah, a misorder redirected my direction. But again, this is the roulette of the Wetherspoons app. And sadly, I would have to wait even longer for my pint, as when the pint was put down in front of me, there was a bright pink lipstick mark on the rim. I regrettably showed a member of staff the lipstick. I asked for a fresh glass, and she apologised, and she quickly replaced it. But then I was intrigued by the woman who would not only wear such a bright pink stick and was into craft beers. I could only imagine the interesting tattoos she would have had and the band she liked that I'd never heard of. And would we have been able to maintain a relationship beyond small talk in a pub? My new pint arrived quickly. The waitress assured me that they had poured a new one. I sneaked a look at the bar. In fact, I could see my old one sitting there, so it was certainly fresh and new, hadn't been poured from the other glass. But I'm certain that my old pint would be winging its way to another customer in a fresh glass soon enough. I turned my attention to the burger. It had arrived with plenty of chips. It was a solid portion, solid. The onion rings looked good too, but alas, the looks did deceive me. The burger and chips were lukewarm at best. Quite an achievement considering it came out at breakneck speed. I was surprised at the lack of temperature, as it was lukewarm. I could taste the congealing fat in my burger, which did not make for a pleasant experience. The same could be said for the chips. I was surprised when the onion rings did burn my mouth. See, this is where I prefer consistency of temperatures to avoid injuries, or at the very least not burn my mouth. The seasoning of chips was nice. On the whole, if the temperature had been hotter, it would have been very nice indeed. The pint was very enjoyable. You can tell that they keep their beer very well. I'd happily have sat there and drunk that all afternoon. Now, having soaked up the atmosphere for a while and taken... so the price was £13.49. Now, considering the normal price of a pint of Brewdog IPA there was touching nearly £5. So £8 for burger and chips and onion rings is a good deal. You know, considering all in all, it was a good deal. I will give them that on value. The cheapest pint in there was, you will not be surprised to find this out, Green King IPA at £1.90 a pint. So that is a 5 pints for a tenner. That's not bad value at all. Cheapest lager I could see was Bud Light. Not one for me. I'm not into Bud Light. But at £2.54, if I was desperate, yeah, maybe I could, but it's not really one for me. And then I think you could get a gin and tonic, a single for £2.59 and a double for £4.03. So the value was there to be had. The value was there. Now, having soaked up the atmosphere and taken in my surroundings, despite being a beautiful, very beautiful building, it did, because of the large ceiling, it had a very large ceiling. It was somewhat like a dining hall of a garden centre. It was quite hard to hear anything for the noise of the echoes bouncing off the walls of other people's. It did lack somewhat of the character of other Wetherspoons I'd been to, despite being very characterful from the outside. Now, having finished my pint and dinner, I thought it was best to vacate my table to allow others to have lunch. I felt guilty for some reason for occupying the space. No one in particular had made me feel this way, not staff or customers, but I just felt that others could use the table better. In all fairness, I think staff would have probably liked me to stay there and nurse my pint for a few hours. It was just one less table for them to clear. Nevertheless, I got up and made my way to inspect the very decisive toilets. A bone contention for many of the sorry, I am saying many there a lot of the other reviewers. No sooner did I get up and my table was occupied. Another breathless patron banging their shopping bags on their table to claim it. I made my way to the toilets. Well, I thought I had, but I made it to what appeared to be the women's. I had passed the men's. Toilets were not clearly signposted, but they were not very far. I didn't have to walk very far, like many other Wetherspoons. Like if you didn't need the toilet when you set off for the loo in the Wetherspoons, you would need it by the time you get there. I entered the toilets and I checked the check sheet, and I had been checked recently. I feel though this might have been someone just signing a sheet and not actually checking it. All the urinals in the cubicles were in working order, although one cubicle had been left in a state I can only describe as nightmarish. Luckily, I'd had my dinner, and it didn't put me off. I was rather where if I'd been there just before eating, it may have done so. I'd left the toilets, having finished. My final thoughts outside the Corn Exchange were that the building itself was rather overwhelming, but the innards had left me somewhat underwhelmed. Now, I've broken my review down into 7 categories. The first one being cleanliness. It was clean. Okay. Number 2 being speed of service. It was sub 10 minutes. It was 6 minutes. They did lose on the drink being returned because of the lipstick. The staff were friendly. It was as friendly as you could expect them to be on a busy Saturday afternoon. Number 4 was the 3 T's, which I like to call the time to the toilet. It was under a minute, so that's good. Toilet, mostly clean, well, apart from that one cubicle, which had obviously been left in quite a state. Food, burger and chips were lukewarm at best. I must repeat, I'm being quite generous with saying the lukewarmness, they were closer to cold. Onion rings, they were hotter than the sun, and caused me to get a burn in my mouth. The quality of drink, despite the glass, was good quality, but sadly, on this occasion, I think we will have to score the Corn Exchange in Bury a wooden spoon. I think maybe if I'd come on a quieter day, my review might have been a little bit more positive. But on this occasion, I do have to give him the wooden spoon. It was the temperature of the food and the lipstick on the glass. Either of those two things on their own wouldn't have completely killed the review, but both together, it's not ideal. And it's not an ideal start to this series. I don't want to get off on a negative note, but, that is the name of the game. Now, what the next section, which I have playfully dubbed Letter Spoons, is eventually where you, the listener, will email in and give me your thoughts on the podcast, on anything spoons related, pictures of your dogs. But on this occasion, I don't have any emails. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a few articles I found interesting from the Wetherspoons news, or as I like to call it, propaganda, which I smuggled out of the Corn Exchange. Now, one moment, let me just find one article that I did find interesting. Apologies. I think next time I do this, if I do it again, I will fold down the pages of the magazine. So the first article I found interesting was gang clad in bar towels after 39-year pub crawl. Imagine that, being on a pub crawl for 39 years. A group of men, having been on a pub crawl since 1984, dropped into the Ritz in Lincolnshire. The men, part of the Black Country Ale Talisters, dressed in jackets made of bar towels, tour pubs to raise money for various charities. That's wonderful, isn't it? Having a pint and raising money for charities. Now, in the article, they describe the jackets. They describe the beer towels as jackets. From the pictures, they appear to be more of a bar towel gilet. The old bar towels. You don't see so much anymore. They've been replaced by plastic, rubber things. But yeah, they appear to be more of a gilet. Maybe during the winter they have sleeves which they sew onto them. So that's lovely stuff. Going to the pub and raising a bit of money there. If you do any charity work and you need a shout out, please let me know and I'll put you on the podcast. And if it involves booze, then wonderful. I mean, not booze, but going to the pub. Now, yes, just one more article. Yes, this one. All female door crew creates calm in Cornwall. Customers visiting the John Francis Bassett in Camborne, which is a Wetherspoons Cornish pub and hotel, are always welcome with a warm smile at the door. Door staff team Rebecca and Lisa Trevetsky. Apologies if you are listening, Lisa. If I have butchered your second name, it was a bit difficult for me. Pictured have been working at the door at the hotel since the beginning of 2023 and been making positive waves within the community. Hotel manager Liam Pidwell explained, "We have been staffed by an all-female door crew since January, and the response from the town has always been overwhelmingly positive. They do an amazing job, and are very proud of their work, and quite rightly, since to our knowledge they are the first all-female door crew in Cornwall. That's fantastic, isn't it? Just lovely. Just a lovely bit of positive news there from the Wetherspoons. And yes, Rebecca can give me a jolly good frisk anytime. Just don't tell my wife. Never mind. Okay. That was a one-off, but maybe we'll pick it up another time and we'll read a few more articles. As I smuggle more Wetherspoons news away from Wetherspoons, I feel through this endeavour I will never be short of being in a Wetherspoons at all. Now, please, I encourage you to email me, become a POS, and give me an email at perrysOldSpooners@hotmail.com. Just email me anything, your local spoons, your favourite spoons, dishes, drinks, what's good and what's bad in your particular spoons, anything spoons related. Spoon, it's like I said before, celeb, you take to spoons, and which spoons. I'll do my best to read out every email I get, but yes, please do get in touch. I do encourage you to go to Facebook. I will be starting a Twitter very soon, but every time I set up on a Wether-report page, I get hit with community guideline violations, so hopefully it'll be all resolved by the next one. Do email in and become a POS, not a POW, prisoner of war, or, oh, hang on, that works, doesn't it? Because you could, prisoner of Wetherspoons? Hang on. Patron of Wetherspoons, but yes, it is POS. Now, sadly, our time has come to spoon. Feel free to leave a review, because it does all help very much with the podcast. And yes, I look forward to reading your emails and speaking to you next time. Good day.